Good evening, everybody. I'm so super excited to be on this webinar tonight with my gorgeous author, Frances Cosway, the author of Your Forever Home, the essential guide before you start your new build or renovation. She's an absolute pocket rocket and has done so many amazing things. Has been on TV. She's been all part of various home shows. And some of these presentations that she has been doing at all of these places, she's now bringing it for the very, very first time online, which is super exciting. So, if you like, there is a chat box in as part of this call that you can utilize. I am muting and turning everyone's video camera off so we don't get distracted by everyone's scenery. So you will be able to see me and Frances throughout the call, but I will manage the chat box from my end. And Amy, thank you for confirming that our volume is all good. So let me give you the official introduction about Frances. So she's an in-demand interior designer, published author and speaker with a passion and expertise in creating beautiful homes people love. She has over 15 years experience in renovating and building, and now specializes in helping people design and build their forever home. Hey Maria, I'm just going to turn up your video. All right. Next, this is the official introduction. Having lived in Europe, Amsterdam and London for 12 years, gosh, I didn't know about you, Frances. It's crazy. Frances has developed her own unique style and influences. Her philosophy on design is that your home is a story of you, how you live your lifestyle and your life journey, and she's passionate about this philosophy. I know you've got so much gold to share with us over the next half an hour, 45 minutes, depending on how many awesome questions come through these guys. So welcome officially. Thank you for taking the time to share with us your expertise. I can't wait to learn as well at the same time. So please share your screen now with us that you've got the presentation on, and let's get this show started.
Okay, welcome everyone. Welcome to this nice, warm, balmy Monday night where I'm going to share with you essential design insights to future-proof your home. And I'm going to be covering three core areas about how we can actually make sure our homes are going to not only meet our needs now, but also in the future with things that we may not even expect are going to happen. So just a little bit about my background. I just want to check that everyone can see the screen. I need to be able to show pictures. So I'm going to have to hide this here. So just a little bit about my background. I'm actually ex-marketing. So I actually studied and practiced marketing for over 20 years. That took me overseas, as Natasha said, to Amsterdam, London, Ljubljana, and also Antwerp. And it was there when I was actually renovating my own home for myself and also for other people, particularly in Amsterdam, in London, that I realised that my passion actually lay with interior design. So, and I had other people comment on this for me, and I started studying interior design in London. I came back to Australia suddenly in 2009 for family reasons, and I started my business in 2010 back in Australia after I came back. In nearly 3 years ago, I built my own sustainable and award-winning home in 2014, and that's a sustainable house that's actually really, I suppose, knocking the notion on the head, what we see in Kevin McLeod's grand designs, that a home needs to be, you know, made out of recycled tyres or mud bricks to able to be sustainable, and that's not actually the case. So our house is, I suppose, what you'd call conventional, whatever that may be, but it's highly sustainable. I also published my first book this year, as Natasha said, Your Forever Home, and the impetus for that really came from the fact that my clients were asking me very similar questions time and time again. And when I started researching the market for a book for my clients, I realised there wasn't one that was going to help them, so I decided to write it myself. So why future-proof your home design? And that's what I want to touch on tonight. And I really think building your own home is going to take lots of time, money and effort, and it's actually one of the largest projects you'll ever engage in your life, probably apart from raising children, I think, because that's a lifelong project that we have. But otherwise it really is a very large project. It's incredibly rewarding, but without setting the tone for exactly what you're trying to achieve out of your forever home, it can actually become quite stressful. And that's really what I'm trying to mitigate, with my book and educating my clients. So if you don't consider future-proofing your forever home, what does it actually mean? One is, and what I see often is that homes actually are not able to be adaptable as our family's needs change. And then you end up building a home that perhaps is going to have a lot of wasted space, which ultimately means there's a lot of wasted energy and also a lot of wasted, time for cleaning, just a lot of wasted resources. I think the saddest thing is that people build a home, it hasn't been future-proofed, it hasn't been considered, and in the end they need to move. And that's quite a sad thing when you've put all this effort into it that you ultimately need to move. And that's what we're trying to prevent, making sure that your home is adaptable. So what are we going to look at tonight? Well, the key areas for future-proofing that I'm going to cover tonight, one is about lighting. Lighting has such an impact on our mood and how we actually are able to perform tasks in our home. So I really want to talk about the different types of lighting. Flexible floor plan, which I'm incredibly passionate about, and making sure that our floor plans are going to work really hard for us. And then windows, and these are things that are often forgotten about, and I really want to touch on our windows in terms of how they affect the way we live inside, and also the projection outside. So I'm just a bit conscious people can't actually see the headings. Can we see everything okay?
Yeah, we can.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So lighting, it's more than just downlights. I'm going to be a little bit controversial here. We often have a lot of downlights in our homes, and I really want to hit the notion on the head that downlights are not necessarily the best light for our homes, and there's reasons for that which I'll explain. They generally emit quite a harsh light, and they create a lot of shadow and a lot of glare, so it's not a very nice light to be under. And I just want to draw your attention to this photo here, and you can see that this room has got its complete ceiling is full of downlights. And when I look at this image personally, and other people may have a different view, of course, I don't look at this image and say, wow, that's a really inviting space. I really want to go and relax and retire in that space. It doesn't create a sense of ambience for me, or feel like that I'm going to be really cozy in that space. And I believe that that is not the sole reason, but the downlights are definitely contributing to that feeling. So downlights definitely can be used, but generally used in conjunction with another light source. So lighting serves a purpose. And what we need to do to make sure that our homes are future-proofed is that we've got multiple light sources in each room in the home, not just in our key living areas. And that's how we create the flexibility. So the three types of lights we need to consider are task lighting. Think about kitchens, bathrooms, perhaps where you're studying, your work area. Areas where you perform craft or crocheting or knitting or whatever it may be. Then we need very good light for task lighting. Then we have our mood lighting, and that's creating the ambience. So that's creating what that other image is not creating, which is that beautiful feeling, that inviting feeling, a place to retreat to, a place to relax in, a place that's creating a mood. And that's what ambient light provides. And that can be used by lamps, and different sorts of light sources, which I will touch on. Then we have decorative lighting, and they form part of the interior design because they could be a decorative pendant, which you may have in the ceiling. It could be a lamp, but they form part of the interior design. So they're decorative as well as creating a task or a mood lighting, and then they've got that aesthetic with them as well. So just as an example, here we have a dining room with a pendant light over, and it's quite common that people are now putting pendant lights over their dining table. And that creates a beautiful aesthetic as well as creating a really nice ambient light while you're dining or entertaining at your dining table. But ultimately, whether we like it or not, our dining table will end up being a place for our bookkeeping, where the kids are going to study and do their homework, where we may end up doing work late at night because it's sort of around other people. It may be a craft table. It'll ultimately become a lot more than just a dining table. But that pendant light is not going to provide enough light to be able to do those tasks that I've just mentioned. So we need an alternative light source that can be used in conjunction with this that provides the task lighting. So in this example here, we've got a, oops, sorry, I'm clicking on my mouse. We've got an LED strip light, which is very good for task lighting. That can be used in isolation or it can be used in conjunction with the pendant lighting. So if we're thinking about this for each room in the house, we've got ourselves covered. We've got ourselves covered to make sure that each room is able to perform how we may need it to be, whether that's cosy and inviting or really good task lighting in each room in the house. And that's how we future-proof. So just to give you some ideas on some alternative light sources. Here we've got an LED strip, like the one I showed you before. That's a great task light. It's quite architectural in how it looks. But it forms a really good light without creating shadow. Then we have here a decorative element, so 2 for 1 really, because it's decorative as well as creating an ambient light source if used in isolation, but it's also creating direct light over the island bench. So really this is got 3 purposes in one. Then we have an uplight in the corner here, and this is probably my favourite light source. This pushes light up to the ceiling, and then it bounces light off the ceiling and projects that into the room. Now, again, this is a 2 for 1 light as well, because if you put that on a dimmer, which I would encourage you to do for all your lights, we're then able to create a really nice ambient light. So it's 2 for 1. It's a task light as well as being a decorative and also an ambient light source. Here we've got an LED under the island bench, which is purely decorative. It's not performing any sort of task. And then up here, we've got what are called wall washers. And these look like a downlight, and they've got the same cutout as a downlight, so your electrician will like that. But instead of pushing light directly down, they actually push light towards the wall and bounce that light off the wall. So again, you're not getting any shadow. These are great for highlighting artwork. They're brilliant in bedrooms where you can put them in a corner where you think a desk may be. Fabulous in work areas and study areas because they're giving you a task light as well as, again, on a dimmer, you're getting a really beautiful decorative and ambient light as well. Here we've got decorative light sources. We've got purely decorative here. This is a powder room, so you really want that to be the showcase in the home, that bathroom. So this is creating a soft light. And then up here we actually do have a downlight, but it's used in conjunction with another light source. And what it's actually doing here is highlighting the interior design scheme here by highlighting the texture in the tiles in this space. And in this bathroom, sorry? Oh, yes?
Kate was just asking, what is that light called? I'm guessing the one that was throwing light onto the wall. Is that right, Kate?
The one here, this one, the wall wash. That's
a wall wash.
A wall wash, that's right. Because it's actually washing the wall with light. Does that answer her question?
Yes, she confirmed that the one that looked like a downlight is a wall wash. Okay,
yeah. It's a wall wash, that's right.
Yeah.
And Bright Green make those. That's a brand that actually make them. So here again, we've got a bathroom with a decorative light. Now that's such a nice light to be under if you're having a bath and you want to relax, rather than having these down lights just, you know, completely covering you with light. And then we have an overhead light here, and that gives you a really great light source for doing makeup or your shaving because you're not creating shadow. Again, instead of using lamps, you can use decorative pendants as your bedside light source. And here we've got wall washers, and they are fabulous for projecting light up or down or both. And if you can just imagine a hallway and you've got these lights just down one wall in your hallway, leading you down to the back of the house. That's such a beautiful, inviting way to have someone come into your home. So they're a beautiful light source. And then again, lighting with lamps. Lamps are so fabulous because they're so flexible. So if you're renting or you're really not sure about what you want to do, a lamp gives you so much flexibility because you can move it around in different rooms. If you tire of its look, you can easily replace it. So here it's just a decorative light source only, where in this room here, it's actually giving very directional light on this sofa area for if someone was reading or doing knitting. But it also forms part of the interior design beautifully in this room, as well as providing an ambient light. So it really is doing a lot of different things. Again, a bedroom, no downlights at all. A pendant and 2 bedside lamps are more than sufficient. Now we get to the floor plans, and this is the area that I'm very passionate about. The best way to future-proof our homes is to get the floor plan right. And people are so often enthusiastic to get the build started that they don't spend enough time at floor plan stage. And this is really where you can make big differences and big impacts to how your home is going to perform for you now and later. And look, you know, a forever home, what is forever these days? 10, 20, 30 years. But at the end of the day, it's long term. It's not something that you're considering being in 5 years and then flipping. So you need to make sure it's going to work. The best way to do this is to create spaces with doors. And we've got this obsession in Australia at the moment that we have all this open space. And I'm definitely not against the open plan, but we need to have areas in our home that we can retreat to that have doors, but they also give us flexibility. And I'll run through a couple of examples. So in this instance here, this is very common at the moment in a lot of floor plans I see. There's a big rumpus room, a big open plan retreat area, and it's normally upstairs. Now, the problem that I have with these spaces is they're not adaptable. Now, on the floor plan, if someone's looking at this at face value, there's a study nook here, and you think, wow, this is really dual functional. I can, you know, someone can be watching TV, and there's also a space for someone to study. But in reality, I am not ever going to imagine that someone doing year 12 is going to be studying here while their brother's watching Die Hard 4 on the TV here. It's just not going to happen. So this space is also not a space that you can create privacy with doors and say to your in-laws, do you want to crash tonight? This is not a very nice retreat area or private space that they can go to. The other thing that people often forget about is the stairs create a lot of noise. So there's no facility here to mitigate noise travelling up and down the stairs. And there's no facility here to close off the stairs so that the heating and the cooling doesn't travel up and down the stairs. So when someone turns the heating button on downstairs, this entire area upstairs is going to be heated as well, whether you like it or not. So because this doesn't have the facility to be closed off, it's not very flexible. It can really only be one thing. What I also see is people are future-proofing in their mind. They're building a house, their kids are maybe 3, 4 or 5 years old. So the idea is that this is going to be a teenage retreat. So they are thinking ahead. But what happens with the 10 years in between while they're waiting for their kids to use this space? Because as we know, 3, 4, 5-year-olds are pretty much clinging to your legs. They don't want to be upstairs away from their parents. So this is a waste of space for 10 years while you're waiting for them to become teenagers. So I think this is a lost opportunity. This would need to be redesigned so that it can have doors, so that this room can be used for other things while you're waiting for it to be utilised, how it could be when the kids are teenagers. So what do we do then? So I want to show you then a floor plan that I believe is really well designed. So this study, what is here is a study, has got 2 double sliding doors. And the great thing about these is they can retract back into the walls. So you're still creating that sense of space. You're still creating that illusion of it's open, but those doors can close that room off for when you want this to be something else. So what could this room be used for over the duration of the family living here? For starters, it can be a study. Secondly, it could be a playroom when the kids are young. You'd have the doors open and the kids have got all their stuff in there. When they finally leave home, when they're about 30, you finally get them and you become empty nesters again. This room can then be turned into a second living room. And the great thing with the doors again is if someone wants to watch Pride and Prejudice in here and someone wants to watch the footy down the other end of the house, the doors mean that the noise is actually controlled. So that's possible. You could also have a desk in here plus a sofa bed, and that room is multifunctional. It could be a second living. It could even be turned into a spare room. This room can be so many things just with the creation of doors. It gives someone so much flexibility, and this is often overlooked. I see so many floor plans where they've got a second living right up the front and there's not a door in sight. What people also forget about is if the heating and cooling is installed in the right way, this room can be heated or cooled in isolation of the rest of the house. If it's got carpet in here and the rest of the house is floorboards, what a beautiful cozy environment you can create for winter, particularly with the doors really keeping that heat in. So this is very flexible. Another one here just quickly would be, this is denoted as an office. It's got inbuilt shelving, which is just for books. But what they've done here is they've got a built-in wardrobe and then access to an ensuite that also doubles up as a powder room. So this could become a master bedroom. This could also become a spare room. So again, we've got flexibility. The other thing to consider when you are trying to create flexibility is to minimise the amount of inbuilt cabinetry. And what I mean by that is inbuilt bookcases and inbuilt wardrobes are absolutely fine. You're never going to not want that storage. But inbuilt desks and things like that can actually stop you from having flexibility with what that room can become. So if we had an inbuilt desk in here, we wouldn't be able to get a bed in there to turn that room into something else. So consider carefully just how much inbuilt furniture you want to have opposed to freestanding, so that again you can create flexibility for what that room can become. So what about when we get older? What actually happens? We need to make sure that we are thinking about it whether we like it or not. It could also be that there may actually be someone that's had an accident, or there is a period of time that someone's in a wheelchair. So we need to future-proof how our house can cope with these things. So key rooms need to be on one level. Your kitchen, your bathroom, and a master bedroom need to be able to be on one level so that you can access that all very easily. All the kids can go upstairs, all your guests can go upstairs, but you need to be able to be on one level. Your hallway widths, ideally 1.2 metres wide. I see houses now built with hallways that are 2.5 metres wide. And the problem with that is, and what people are not considering, is that the heating and the cooling that's required for that hallway, when it's really not a space that you're living in. So consider that as well. But 1.2 is really serviceable for a wheelchair and really manoeuvring around. Having the master bedroom downstairs is also quite savvy, because I've got clients who say that they are very happy with the master bedroom downstairs, also because they can monitor the comings and goings of teenage children through the front door. So it does have another function as well. Finally, on bathrooms with your that's servicing on the one level, showers provide easier access. When you've got a bath and you get older, it's a lot more difficult to step in and outside the bath. So what I suggest is that people have a shower, separate shower, preferably without a door, with an opening of 800 millimetres. A wheelchair can get in and out of that really easily. Not everyone's got the space to be able to do that, absolutely not. So just make it as big as possible. 600 is sort of the minimum, but if you can get away not having the door, it's certainly going to help getting in and out of these spaces. So that's our floor plans, absolutely key to our future proofing. And now I'm going to touch on windows. And they really affect not only our energy efficiency, but they also affect how our homes are going to perform for us, how comfortable they are, but also from an interiors perspective, how we actually space plan and how we set up our furniture because of the way our windows are. So most homes are actually built, and in Australia, we are slowly progressing to double glazing, but we're actually letting in around 80% of our heat in summer through our glazing, through our windows, but it's also through the frames. It's not just the glass. And we're losing all our heat, 40% in winter, again, through the frames and the glass. So we need to be able to manage this. And the size and the orientation of our windows is really key. Anything that's facing west or north, but particularly west, is a very harsh summer sun. So we need to make sure that those windows are as small as possible or eradicated altogether. Let's move them to another south-facing, east-facing, so that we're not actually getting that really hot sun in summer, and we're going to feel it like on a day like today and when we get our heat waves. And the best way to do this is minimising their size and managing their shade. So there is a misconception that having block-out blinds is going to stop the heat coming in, which is actually incorrect. It's actually the sun touching the glass that makes our homes hot, and it's the glass that makes our rooms cold in winter. So in summer, we need to have a shade mechanism in place that makes sure that the sun is not touching the glass at all. And that would be a shade sail. And what's great about that is you can bring that down in winter and let all the beautiful sun in to warm your home. You could have an eave that's big enough to block the sun from touching the glazing. You could have louvers that are set on a particular angle. They're permanent, but at 32 degrees, they're stopping the summer sun coming in, but they're letting the lower winter sun penetrate into the room, again, warming the space. You could plant a deciduous tree, which has a beautiful outlook, and it loses its leaves in winter. So again, you've got that beautiful sun coming in. We don't always have the space, and also a deciduous tree of a big enough size takes time to grow. But really think about your shading and how you're going to manage your glass and the treatment of the sun and preventing it really heating your house up in summer. So what about from an interiors perspective? How do our windows impact how we set up ourselves inside? And I encourage people to do a little craft project, and that is cut out all your furniture to scale the same size as your floor plan and move it around and have a little bit of an exercise in terms of working out exactly the location in each room, particularly in your living areas where everything's going to go. Because, you know, with the Australian obsession of floor-to-ceiling glass, and we want to have that beautiful interaction with the outdoors, and why wouldn't we with our climate? But what we forget about is, where's our TV going to go? What about our photo walls and all our key pieces of artwork? We actually run out of walls. And I myself in my own house actually got rid of a lot of windows so I could hang my artwork because I needed walls to be able to do this. So when you do this space planning exercise with the cutting out of the furniture, what it allows you to do is work out if your windows are in the right location. Do you need to make a window smaller so that you've got space for the TV? I had a client who had a beautiful deco buffet. We did this exercise early on at floor plan stage, and we worked out that his window was not going to allow him to have his buffet where he wanted it. So we were able to move his window 15 centimetres to the left. It didn't affect the aesthetics inside or outside. It meant he got his buffet where he wanted it to go. So this is making sure that the things you want to have in your home, they're planned for and you know they're going to fit and they're all going to work because your windows are in the right location. The other thing is you may want to highlight a canopy of trees so you have a highlight window in a particular location. Or you may have a buffet that you know is going to go in a particular location because you've done this exercise, but you've got a floor-to-ceiling window there. There's no point putting in glazing when you're going to have a piece of furniture there. So you can actually raise that window off the floor, above the buffet. It's going to save you money because you don't need to pay for that glass. Glazing's expensive. And you know that your buffet is going to go exactly where you want it to go. So that exercise is really powerful. It's amazing what it turns up, and it's amazing how you can then work out before you've even moved in where everything goes, so you know everything's got a place and you haven't forgotten about your artwork and your TV and things like that. The other thing to think about early on are your window treatments. And, you know, in our offices, we want to make sure that we've got really good block out and we don't have glare. And there may be particular types of aesthetics of window treatments that you like. And window treatments are blinds, curtains, plantation shutters, things like that. What people forget about, and I get the call often 2 weeks before someone's going to move in, I need to get blinds for my home. I really want plantation shutters, and I have to give them the bad news that their window type won't allow them to have their plantation shutters, pardon me, or the window treatment that they've dreamed about. What a shame. They're forever home and they haven't planned it out far enough in advance, which means they can't actually have what they would really like. So the type of window that you have can actually affect the window treatment that you can ultimately end up with. As an example, an awning window, which is a winder, I have to give you the demonstration, that winds out, and sometimes that little winder doesn't fold back on itself. So it means that you can't really have, well, you can't have plantation shutters, and it means that you can't really have a blind that rolls a particular way because it won't actually clear that winder. So if you're dreaming about that as your aesthetic, you need to think about that in advance. But if you've got that information, you can make an informed choice. Do I change my window type or do I change the window treatment I'm after? Curtains are making a massive renaissance, and I'm very pleased about this because they are brilliant insulators. They look beautiful. They dress a window, but they perform really well, particularly in winter, keeping the heat in and making sure that cold off the glass is not coming into the room. Again, with our obsession with all these big windows, we often don't have enough wall on either side of the window to actually get the curtain off the glass. So even if you're thinking now, and this is the future-proofing mentality, I don't really want curtains. I don't want my kids' greasy mitts all over the fabric. It's really not something that I like. But what about in 15 years' time where you think, oh, I really actually would like to change the look of my home now I want curtains? You need to have enough wall on either side to get the curtain off the glass. So think about that in advance. Even if you think you may not want it now, future-proof it so you've got the option later on. Motorization is another one. Motorization is the ability with a remote control to open and close your blinds. It's fabulous. You lie in bed, you push a button, and everything goes up or everything goes down. You can completely control everything. It's on programs. It is expensive. The motors are a lot more expensive than just having standard blinds. However, future-proof your home by making sure that you're able to have that choice later on. And all that takes is an electrician at frame stage to wire it in. And it's negligible, the cost at build stage to actually wire that in, where if you have to retrofit it later on, you're punching holes in your plaster. And I have had clients that haven't even moved into their homes yet. They hadn't provisioned for this. And with the regulations in Victoria where you must have your chain fixed to a fixed point, you've got big glazing, you can't actually fix a chain to glass. You have to put the motorization in. So without provisioning for that, that really is my suggestion, is provision for it. Even if you can't afford to put them in straight away, provision, because that is where the technology is going. And that's going to be the things that people are expecting later on. And when you're in your office, you know, you flick a switch and everything goes down. You don't even have to get up. So it is a great thing to have. Built-in pelmets is really just something that you can do at frame stage. It's really elongating your wall and hiding all of the tops of your blinds and the tops of your curtains with a very sleek look, but you get one go at it. And that's why I'm suggesting it now, because we're sort of talking about things early on to think about. You get one go at this, you can't retrofit it. So think about if you like this look and you want to incorporate it. This is what it looks like without any pelmets. You've just had the heavy heading of the curtain at the top. And this may be what you can retrofit where you use a box pelmet. But again, it's not up really high. This really elongates your wall. So what are some of the key takeaways? I really want you to think about some alternatives to downlights. There are so many amazing Australian manufacturers. There are such good quality lights that you can buy. Get a lighting designer or speak to an expert. Research what you can have as an alternative to downlights, because it will make the mood and how you feel and how you live in your home so much different than if you've just got downlights on their own. Keep rooms flexible, and the best way to do that is use doors. Sure, have your open spaces, but use doors in hallways. Have rooms that can actually be closed off, because you're going to be able to future-proof your home. Those rooms can be so many different things over the duration of the time that you live in that home. Without the doors, you're not able to mitigate the noise, you're not able to make a cozy environment, but you can't make that room more than one thing. And think about your windows, plan their size, make sure that you're managing the sun and the cold, the way that they're facing, their orientation, and the wall space inside. Map it out so that you know exactly where everything's going and everything's got a space before you move in. Look, I'd be absolutely delighted if anyone wanted to have a copy of the presentation. I'm more than happy to send it to you. I know it's a lot of information to absorb all at once, and I will take questions in a moment. But if you wanted to text me your email address, I'm more than happy to send you a copy of the presentation. Of course, I wanted to offer you some special offers tonight. As Nat said, it's my first webinar, so I certainly wanted to be able to offer you something tonight. One of the things that I offer my clients, which proves to be very valuable for them, is really a floor plan sanity check. And this is really a second set of expert eyes going over and reviewing your plans, completely removed from your project, and having a look at it from a future-proofing perspective. Your zoning, how much flexibility have you got? What's the functionality? It's not always about the aesthetics, and I think people forget that interior design is about functionality as well. And then also, what are some of the sustainable things that you can incorporate that don't cost anything? And I review the plans with all of these things in mind. There's only 3 available tonight because I only do a certain amount per month. They're normally $495, and tonight they're $350. If you're interested in that, please text sanity check to my mobile number and I'll be in touch and I can make an appointment with you to go through that. The next offer I have for those that may not necessarily be at floor plan stage or they wanted to review something else, I've got an initial consultation available, and that's 1.5 hours. We can pretty much cover anything that you've got on your mind. It may be colours, it may be space planning, it may be thinking about how am I going to be able to do a makeover in my house. I'm not sure how much it's going to cost. What are my options? We can really cover anything. Materials you may want to incorporate. An initial consultation, I will lead it, ask lots of questions to make sure that you've got some really good takeaways and food for thought and things you can action. Now that's normally $350. Tonight it's $295. If you text consult to me, then I'll know that you're after the initial consultation, and again, I'll be in touch. I've only got 5 available of those tonight. Christmas is coming crazy, so we're getting inundated, so I've really only got 5 available as a special offer tonight. And then finally, the book. As Nat said, this is a very practical guide. This is not a coffee table book full of pictures. It is a very practical, very hands-on book. It's a tool that you can use to prepare yourself. It's often you don't know what you don't know when you're about to embark on a makeover, a renovation or a build, and this is what this book is designed to do. It's to arm you with the information so you can ask the questions that you know are going to make a difference. There's a lot of information in there about advantages and disadvantages, about key material that you'll need to choose, bench tops, cabinetry, how to stay on budget, how to brief, what are the stages of building. This is a really core book. So the website for the book is Your Forever Home. There's lots of information there, and that's also the opportunity for you to order the book there, and I'm happy to sign it for you as well.
Beautiful.
There's my contact details, and Nat, I suppose we can open up the floor for questions. Thank you.
Yes, well done, well done. I definitely learned so much myself, and as you were going through everything, I'm like in my head, have we got that? Have we got that here? Because actually our house was built by the builder himself.
Yes.
So, he definitely took into account a lot of things that you mentioned, and he even built to these. We have got a west facing side, actually this side in my office, and we just built a an awning, if you like, on the outside.
Yeah.
The sun in the afternoon, but he also built in frames that have this additional mesh all over them that we can put in summer on that side of the house. So he left that. So So all of these tips that you're sharing is so true. And I didn't know that actually was the glass that will make your house hot or cold.
Yeah,
So a lot of people think, oh, I'll just put those blockout blinds, which is what
that's right.
Yeah.
It's a really common, that's why I mention it, because a lot of people are not aware that the blockout blind really won't do much at all. You need to block the sun hitting the glass instantly just to have an impact.
Yeah, I love it. So are there any questions, guys? Did you love the call? Amy said before, this is gold, Francis, and I just confirmed with her. Yeah, I agree. Lots of cool tips. Kate's just saying she couldn't see your full number, but I'm sure you can see the number here on the screen right now, Kate. Love huge windows, just must make sure not to put them on the west. What about north?
That's right.
Can you put big windows north facing?
Yeah, so with north, the thing with north is it's a bit of a challenge because we definitely want to be able to block the summer sun, but we really want to make sure that the winter sun can come in, and that's where we need a flexible shade situation. So that's where a shade sail, a deciduous tree, or the permanent louvers that allow the winter sun to come in is an ideal sort of scenario. So the west sun you want to block, the northern sun you want to manage in summer, but really encourage to come into your home in winter because it'll warm your house naturally without needing to put the heater on.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, wonderful. That's fantastic, Francis. And I know because we unpacked this book together how many amazing detailed tips you have. And if you don't know Francis, she is super detailed, which makes her super professional. And dotting all the I's, crossing all the T's, just absolutely does an amazing job. She could share so much gold in terms of, and that's actually her home in the picture of the book right there.
On that.
Which is absolutely stunning. So you live and breathe what you help people with, which is what I love. And this is why you have the success that you have achieved and why so many people are after your opinion and insights, and you just got an answer for everything. Amy's got a question. Do you have suggested ceiling heights that help with heating and cooling?
Obviously, if they're really high, say you're 3 metres, 3.3, which people are really aspiring to now, obviously all that heat is going up into the ceiling cavity because heat rises. The way to manage that is without losing the illusion of the space is to use ceiling fans. And if you've got a really good ceiling fan, you put them on reverse. So in winter, they're pushing the heat down, and in summer, they're obviously cooling the room. 2.7, Amy, is a really good rule of thumb. That's a really nice ceiling height. And if you've got floor-to-ceiling windows in your 2.7, you're actually creating a really beautiful illusion of height without necessarily needing to go to 3 metres and having windows that don't go that high, because that's quite rare to have windows that are 3 metres high. You could easily just have your ceiling height at 2.7 and then have floor-to-ceiling windows in that outdoor area to still give you that really beautiful illusion of space and height.
Lovely. Another question from Kate. I have a covered carport on the north side and was thinking of a glass box. Would have to do double glazing. I'm not sure.
Okay, so the thing with double glazing, and this is something else that people, it's not necessarily obvious, double glazing helps retain heat. So brilliant in winter because you're mitigating having the loss of heat go out through your glazing, which is what I spoke about earlier. But conversely, in summer, if you've got that sun hitting that glass, it's going to penetrate into your house and the double glazing will keep the heat in. So you don't want to do that in summer. So you absolutely must have that shade mechanism in place so the sun is not touching the glass in summer, or you will create an absolute hot box for yourself with the double glazing.
Yeah, totally.
Does that answer the question for her?
Yeah, let's see if she can confirm. Not a good idea. Laugh out loud, she said. I can't wait to have you out to consult further before we continue our house renos, which is awesome.
Oh, that's fabulous. I'd love to, Kate.
Yeah, love it. Awesome. Beautiful. Well, I think those were all the questions, comments. There's a couple of people that couldn't stay till right at the end, but I'm sure they'll catch the recording and we'll be posting this out as well. Do contact Frances to see if any of her offers are available at the time that you watch this recording, because there might be something that's running at that particular point in time in case this is sometime in the future. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. This was very valuable, and to sit through and listen and just keep thinking, you know, we have to discover where we're going to create our third bedroom for our third child, because at the moment girls are sharing, but I know in, as you say, in 5-10 years time, they'll need to be split up somehow.
Yeah.
So we'll figure that one. Yeah. I love it. Beautiful. All right, guys. Well, thank you for being on the call. Contact Frances. Get in touch with her. I'm going to pass on your details to her so she can stay in touch as well. And I trust you found this valuable. So we'll see you guys around very, very soon. Talk soon. Bye.
Thanks so much. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Nat.